time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur podcast. I'm your hostess, Jeanette Anderson, and today I have the awesome and incredibly astute Paula Washington with me. And Paula, where are you calling in from?
I am here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. I love that. I lived in Atlanta a long time ago, like about 45 years ago,
Wow.
and loved it. I love the South. I think it's got great people. And it's a heck of a lot warmer than where I am right now.
Yes.
Butt off today. So everybody, we're going to be talking today about the topic that we talk about here a lot, but with some different insights and perspective. The conversation is about what's next for you, how to go from that accomplished professional that you've been your whole life. Maybe you built a career, a family, a reputation, and now what's next is probably echoing in your brain somewhere as you look at the 10, 20, 30, 40 years that might be stretching ahead of you. So it's about really talking about, yes, reinvention, but more strategy, how to do that strategically. Or if you haven't exited, maybe how to exit strategically. And Paula is as passionate and interested in this whole conversation as I am and does work in this area too. So even though we do very similar things, I want you to hear from her and her perspective on it, because you never know whose perspective is going to help you make that leap. So welcome, Paula. I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So as usual, folks, I'm going to give you the official word. Then I'm going to find out the juicy tidbits behind the scenes of Paula that she never tells anyone, but she's going to tell us. And then we're going to launch right into the whole question about strategic reinvention. So today's conversation is for anyone with decades of experience who is not interested in starting over. Can I see your hands raised? Yeah, there we go. My guest is Paula Washington. She helps experienced leaders and accomplished women lead their Encore Era with clarity, authority, and intention. If you're done shrinking your value and ready to make your next chapter a strategic decision, you're in the right place. So welcome, Paula, again, and tell us that thing that most people would not guess about you.
Okay. Well, the thing that most people wouldn't guess about me is they think that I transitioned out of corporate because I wanted to. They think that I might have started a business because I wanted to, not realizing that I actually was downsized several times. I was going to get a loan for my business, this new idea, because, of course, I was overqualified and couldn't get a job. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting a contract from the SBA to help them with their women's program because they didn't have a curriculum. And of course, since I'm in training and development, that's what I do. And I had one in my briefcase. And so that's how I got started.
Okay, so you got a contract from an employer to do a big block of work for them, create some content and development. So that was kind of the launch of your business. But what happened when that contract went away? Or did you get others right before that went away?
Well, what happened? Well, it was alongside, because what happened, I was doing the training because I helped them with their curriculum and everything. And then I was doing training, and there were other people that were there as well. And from that, opportunities came, and I started to do more training and contracts and get out there and work with other people doing consulting work and things like that. And so it kind of just like referrals started to come, and I just started to build momentum and get clients. Now that did dry up after a while. Mm-hmm. And things I had to reevaluate. Is this the direction I want to go? Only working with one segment, or opening up a little broader? And what I decided to do was opening it up a little broader. In that, I was doing offering customized training and performance management and various other things to corporate as well, because I had done that. And in that, I ended up working with the women's alliance groups in the companies because I was seeing how women weren't being supported. And so I ended up having both. So I set up a nonprofit for women to help them transition from 2 to 1, after school programs, building wealth for women, girls, and families. And it was so interesting. Yes, it was very, very, it was called Wise Women Speak. Anyway, it was really funny how it happened because the alliance groups liked what I did and they wanted more, but within a structure you can't attend. So I set it up. And then the companies that I had contracted with for various services, they sponsored the nonprofit activities and programs. So I was like, this is like the greatest thing since sliced bread,
Okay, so make sure I understand. So first you were laid off, then you went and decided you were going to grow your company or build a company, and you got a contract to do some training development. While you were doing that, you started this nonprofit because you thought that would make you more accessible, because it was a passion project, or did you do it in part because it would help you get work?
It was a passion project. It wasn't anything about work. Okay. It was a passion project. Because I did a lot of volunteer work and I was involved in a lot of things in Georgia. And so I was doing it in a form anyway. Okay. So I put a shape on it, and it was a passion project. And I didn't realize at the time, one of my mentors said, just leverage one with the other. And I did. And that worked out really well because, later on training, after 9/11, things changed in the market and a lot of things changed. And so we had to be very creative in how we did business, especially us who were officially called trainers. I was always speaking somewhere. I was always asked to go speak here and there. So then I kind of shifted and went into that more full-time, in the sense of leaving the training as a service offering, but not as the main guide for the company, as I was now the spokesperson for the business and presenting information. And so I did that. And so,
Well, and so tell me a little bit more about how they leverage each other. So tell me how the nonprofit supports your business and vice versa.
Well, how it supported my business at that time was because I was doing, when I was working with the Women's Alliance groups or any of the company groups, or many of my clients, like I do have male clients as well. And they would say, I know so-and-so and so-and-so, they would really like something. Do you offer this for them as well? I said, yeah, I did. So I offered it under that. And so they would, either sign up for a workshop, a seminar, or some type of service that we offered in that area. And so they kind of balanced each other out. And so I ran that for about 12 years, and then I closed it and started something new.
So just again, so I understand. So part of what you were able to do then is, if a client perhaps didn't have the budget to hire you to come in on one side, you could go in through the charity and give them a better rate, and they would support the charity, which then allowed you to take those dollars and use them for the charitable purposes. But it just gave you an option for a way to discount without discounting.
Absolutely. And when I was doing it, that was not the intention, but that's what happened. And so it was so funny. One of my mentors, who was an expert in niche marketing, she was saying, Paula, sometimes you just walk into things, and that's what happened to you. And then the good thing about having her was she told me how to sustain it. Because when you walk into opportunities, especially if you're in corporate for a long time and you're coming out as an entrepreneur, it's a different lifestyle, different language, a whole new world. So people are not showing up to give you business just because you got something to offer. And people are not really, if you're new in business, if you're between 1 and 5 years in business, there's opportunities you won't receive because you're not experienced enough. And so I happen to have gotten a couple of those opportunities coming out of the gate only because I was there. So, and I fulfilled a need. But
Well, and I would say not just because you were there because you were doing the work, showing up, being, or,
Yeah.
calling in support through mentorship and other ways, and going out and networking and looking for opportunities. I think that you walk into opportunities when you make yourself available to them. By taking action, they don't come and knock on your door. You have to go out. So but then, then sometimes they do come to us and knock on our door, but generally we have to do some of the work to make ourselves available. I want to talk about the biggest shift from employee to entrepreneur that you just mentioned, and also mentorship. Before we kind of go down that path, though, tell me a little bit more about your life purpose. What's your why, and how did you live into it in your corporate job, and how does it look in terms of living into it now? What's different between the two?
In my corporate, I was, okay, so when I grew up, we were told, go to college, get a job, work 30 years, have children, da-da-da. The map was laid out for you. And so in corporate, I always was like the leader, and they always had a challenge because I was always wanting to lead. I'm excellent in collaboration, team training, and all that. But there was always something that pushed me out front. And it didn't always go well because that wasn't my position or my role. And so, with the downsizing and the reorganizations and all of those things, I began to realize, wait a minute, let me do what I love to do best. And I was doing it in the community anyway. And so just so happened those two came together. But now going out on my own, where I'm sitting behind a desk at home, with my business, the phone's not ringing. I have to do everything. Yeah. I have to learn a new language in entrepreneurship, because I'm sure I wore people out telling them too much information over and over again until I finally was able to scale it down to maybe 1 or 2 sentences. So that was one of the challenges in the beginning, managing everything, the budget, making my own copies, writing my own materials, sending everything to them, everything that you did that I had people to help. No, I'm doing it myself. And then there is the cash flow. Yeah. Cash flow was a real thing because you get opportunities, but then there's spurts in between. So understanding how to budget and how to manage in between. And when you get those large contracts, what do you do with those funds? And how not to hire too many people to help you so that you can have the residual to keep your business going and yourself, because you have to pay yourself, you know.
Well, and we got bills that I still need to manage unless you're independently wealthy. And, 65% of North Americans can't afford to retire. So that's why there's so many of us going into entrepreneurship. So you mentioned a number of things that were a big shift for you. One, that you're wearing all the hats now. You don't have people to delegate to. But two, you got to be careful about when you do hire people to delegate to, so that you don't shortchange yourself in terms of cash flow, but also you don't want to abdicate, you want to delegate. And a lot of times, a lot of people just go, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do sales or marketing or whatever, because it's not comfortable and they outside of their comfort zone and or their area of expertise. So they they don't delegate it, they abdicate, they dump it, and then can't figure out how come it's not working. So don't hire until you can afford it and until you can actually manage them effectively to help you do what it is that you're actually giving them to do, that you've got a plan, a strategy, and some know-how around it. And the cash flow management, that's a big thing that people often don't recognize. We need to either have enough money to live off of, or have a way to create cash flow immediately, or a way to take care of ourselves, and know how much money we need to do that. Most people don't know what their monthly net is for themselves and the business, and what to do if you don't have that money coming in, if you don't have
absolutely money, right? and then life happens. Yeah. Okay. So I'm in a transition. We're married one day, divorced the next. Yeah. Have a child. And gotta manage that. So your personal life dictates a lot of it. Then there are other challenges that will happen, health issues and various other things that you have to be aware of. And that's all on your shoulders now.
Right.
And it's not for the faint of heart, let me tell you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it was Betty Davis said, "Getting older isn't for sissies," and I would add, becoming an older entrepreneur, especially, is definitely not for sissies. So yeah, and you do have to be careful because in most businesses, when you start out, you are the business. You're selling your time,
Exactly.
your products. You're the all things to everybody, and so if you go down, so does the business. So until what I call the difference between being an entrepreneur is you are the business, and a business owner, you make money even if you're not there. And it's quite a leap to go from one to the other. Many people,
yes, it is,
right? But that's a big impact on your finances and planning. And people don't think it's going to take as long as it takes. For most people, even though you'll get lots of gurus and coaches telling you that, oh, yeah, you can be making cash flow in 3 months, or you'll be replacing your income in 6 months or whatever.
No.
That's bullshit, right? Like
it is. Let's face it. If that was really happening, they wouldn't be talking to us. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't be trying to get my dollar if you were really making that kind of money. Come on now. It doesn't happen like that.
Exactly. It takes a good 2 to 3 years, typically, for most entrepreneurs to figure out who they are, who they want to serve, how they're going to serve them, what they're going to sell, to learn how to sell, because most don't know how to do that, sell and market themselves, find clients, close the clients, do the work to generate the revenue and increase that. So typically you got to have enough to sustain you for a longer period of time than most people think they're going to need. So it's good that you brought that up, because I think it's one of the facts that isn't covered very often. It's something that people just kind of sweep under the rug, and it's like, oh no. And especially, like you said, the gurus who are trying to sell you quick solutions and silver bullets, they'll say, oh, we'll have you making 7 figures in a weekend.
Yeah, right. And there's another fact that people don't say. You have to prepare your family for what you're doing. When I got that opportunity, I had to prepare my family. I had to tell my daughter, listen, Christmas might be in April. It may be in August. It possibly could be in December, but if it's not, this is what I'm getting ready to do. Yeah. This is why I'm doing it. And explaining that, and your support system, because they need to understand. When I'm home, that doesn't mean I'm here for you to talk to. Yeah. I am working. Do not disturb me. I put signs on my door. I mean, all kinds of stuff. You have to educate them. And that was during the season where working from home was very new. So there was a whole learning curve with the family. And, my parents, my dad was ill, so I was helping my mom caregiver for him. So it was a whole lot of dynamics going on. And now I'm building a business. Is this the opportune time to do it? Everybody would say no, but it is what it is. I am where I am. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you bring up two really important points I want to underline there. One is many of us, whether you're a man or woman listening to this, but especially statistically the women, you will become a caregiver for someone.
Exactly.
Your spouse, your parent, maybe, unfortunately, even your kids. And if you aren't yet, you probably will be, or you will need one of the two. And
or both.
Or both, yeah. And so we need to really build that into our business in a really practical way, because it's not the case for everybody. Men often don't have to think about that. Just like when we have a career, we also take care of home and all the rest of it. Right. That's not proportionate, or hasn't typically been proportionate between men and women. So really building that into your family is super smart. And I love what you said about you got to prepare your family and enroll them in your vision. Make sure that they are your cheerleaders, that you've included them in the vision, and here's what I want to build, and here's why, and here's what's in it for you. Enrollment conversations go a lot better when you give them the what's in it for them.
Yes.
So that they are with you on the journey, because your family can derail, family, close friends, etc., can derail those dreams when they're fledgling like nobody's business. So, they can say, oh, no, you shouldn't do that, because they grew up with that same go to school, get a steady job, stay there for 30 years, get the watch, leave. But that's such an outdated notion from, the 50s. Nowadays, people are living and working 20, 30, 40 years past what traditionally was retirement age of 65.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're actually working in the thing that they love to do. And if they had the opportunity, they would have did it before. But because they were looking for security and stability, and they were told to do this, that, and the other, they did not have the opportunity to do so.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the ultimate irony is we often get laid off because of age. Ageism is alive and well. They won't tell you that's why, because they're not legally but you won't get hired or you get laid off because of age. But the ultimate irony is that then they want to hire us back at a higher rate for our expertise. So while we're there, we're not experts. We are just a cost center, but then they hire us back for our expertise as consultants, etc. I think it's the ultimate irony and the most ridiculous thing on the planet, but it's a very common phenomenon. So if you do get laid off, don't listen to because you're too old. Just trust that, they're going to want that expertise back. They need that expertise. So that's why you become a consultant or a subcontractor or a trainer or a coach, some way that you can then pass on that expertise and make them pay for it.
Absolutely.
Pay well for it. So
yeah. And I've done that, and I taught my clients to do the same.
Yeah.
Because often when you, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, often when you get older, they're looking at the medical and they don't want to pay that.
Yeah.
So that's why they let you go.
Yeah.
So now, of course, they'll take you back as a contractor because they don't have to pay any benefits. Yeah. And that's what they're looking at, cost saving, so they say.
Yes, that's true. Again, the irony, though, is that actually boomers and Gen Xers tend to be less of a drain on benefit systems than young members because we tend to show up more. We take less sick days. We stick with the company longer. So as far as a cost and center of as an employee, we are actually cheaper than many other demographics or generations. And not everybody has health issues as they get older. In fact, more people are healthy into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yes.
I've got 2 clients that are 89 years old and still going strong. So they really do need to rethink that. But anyway, in leaving corporate lunacy behind for a moment, so then you went from corporate to doing your subcontracting and your nonprofit, and you reinvented again in terms of your recent pivot. So how long have you been self-employed or had your own business? How many years?
So about 25 years.
25 years. Okay, so quite a while.
And different iterations of it. Because after I finished with all of that and did the caregiving and all of that, then guess what? My daughter graduates and I end up having a health challenge. So I said, while I'm recovering, let me go back to school, get another degree, and come up with another business. And that's what I did. And another way to do the same business in a different way. And I did. And my thesis was actually published by an educational journal. So anyway, So, and here we are. And now, fast forward to now, we had several losses in our family. All of my cousins and I lost our last parent or what have you, and in 2020, and it caused me to look at my mortality and why am I really here, and how did I become me? And what I realized in looking back when I was writing the book Encore, because I realized I was living it, I wanted to take all of my information and at least give away 50% of it, because I wanted to help people with information you won't get in a book. Our generation is a generation that is had so many transitions, and we navigated those things really well in some areas. In some areas we didn't. But there's a lot of wealth that we have, and I wanted to transfer that. And so as I was writing the book and I was doing the research on my family, and I looked at how my great-grandmother graduated from college in 1894, cum laude, when we weren't even supposed to be in college. And that wasn't supposed to happen. And her parents weren't supposed to be able to send her. And they did. And she did. And then she's in a world that doesn't want her to be there. But she did it because that's what she did. And then when I look at my grandmother who went to Juilliard and became a pianist and a real estate broker, and sold homes to people who couldn't live in certain neighborhoods because her parents, who had a successful business, had to have their attorney purchase their home. She wasn't supposed to do that.
Right.
And she did.
Yeah.
And never thought about not doing it because that's what she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom, the same thing, being the only female manager at a branch, and the only other women were secretaries and tellers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that definitely is not supposed to happen.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so what did I see from them? I learned faith, I learned dignity, resilience, excellence, I learned perseverance, and I learned more than anything to be true to myself.
Mm.
Because they didn't care. It wasn't any kind of big movement. It was, this is what is here. This is the cards I'm dealt. This is the path I'm going to go. And I don't really care, like it or not. And so I realized that was where that passion for really leading from within and tapping into your authenticity comes from. So the Encore Framework has an acronym. E is for exit with intention. N is for navigate the new after the crazy and the chaos. Mm-hmm. Whether you're the fire or the frying pan, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
E is for commit, communicate, equal authentic connections. When you become real with yourself, you draw authentic connections. And that takes time because when you first start in those first 3 years, you don't know who you are and what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're throwing it against the wall, and if it hits, yay. If it doesn't, I'll try another one. So those authentic connections come as you grow. Because a business, a job, anything you do grows as you grow. And then we're looking at for opportunities, being able to recognize. A lot of times, opportunities all around you, and people can't recognize them because they want it in a specific way. And you have to be open. One of the differences of coming out of corporate into entrepreneurship, you have to be open and flexible. And you have to be able to have peripheral vision and change your perspective. It's not going to be one way. And create them and seize them. Then R is for relevance. And we be realistic with the goals and objectives that resonate with the market you are looking to pursue, along with your plan and your family. You have to be relevant. If you're not, it doesn't even matter. And then E is for excellence, your personal trademark. Excellence, your personal trademark.
Okay.
What are you the go-to person for that you do well? Not what Joe does well, not what Mary does well. You got one thing that you do well and people come to you and ask you for that. Package it. Leverage your wisdom, leverage your experience, leverage everything because experience and wisdom don't have an expiration date.
Okay.
Because you got older, they continue. So you put that whole Encore package together, and now you have a whole era for the rest of your life to walk out.
Yes. Okay.
So can we have? Go ahead.
I think that's a great tool. I just want to recap it to make sure everybody got it because I missed the end. So E is for excellence. So coming from excellence, the first E, right? And
E is for exit with intention. That's the first E.
Exit with intention.
Exit with intention, like you're exiting whatever it is.
And then what's the N? What was the N again?
Navigate the new.
Okay. Navigate the new. Then C for connection and communication.
Commit.
Okay. And,
communicate.
Yeah.
Equals authentic connection.
Okay. Love it. And O is for opportunity. Looking for the opportunities. R is relevance. And E is excellence. What is your personal thing?
Right. R is for R is for relevance, and then E is for excellence. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. I love acronyms, but it's sometimes hard to remember what they all stand for. But it's a really good framework and a way to think of that journey that you make when you're going from employee to entrepreneur. So what were the probably one or two things that were the hardest for you to make that transition? To go from employee to entrepreneur, what was the hardest thing for you in that? Or what did you struggle with?
The hardest thing was the learning curve and the cash flow.
Okay.
Because I was always concerned about my daughter.
Right. Yeah.
I was always concerned about my family. I was always concerned about certain things. And when you have a job, you have a paycheck, you have benefits.
Yeah.
And so I had to carry all of that.
Yeah.
And there were many, many times where in the beginning I made sure she had everything and I didn't. And it was okay. But I had to do that to make sure she was okay.
Right. And so what was the biggest surprise or blessing that you found in making that transition?
The blessing was I now was in charge of my own calendar. I was free to do the work the way I wanted to and really engage with people on a level of now not being, not so much serving them, but being their peer and their equal. In that's how people see me. They value the work that I have. They value what I have to offer. And now I can really come out fully and do what I do best. And that was the greatest thrill in the world for me.
I love that. So let's go back to your story about your great-grandmother, your grandmother, your mother, and you, because I think it's really instructional in terms of what people now call mindset. I don't really like that word, but how people think. And you've got a history of people thinking differently. So clearly, all of the generations were dealing with racism. They were dealing with sexism in terms of being women in male-dominated fields or, breaking that quote-unquote glass ceiling. And now you're dealing with, and I don't know if they did, but now you're dealing with ageism as well. How do you think about, or how do you think they thought about that so that it didn't stop them? Because you mentioned perseverance and determination, but why didn't it stop them when it stopped so many others?
Well, I can say two ways. One, it's cultural, because it's something you learn to live with, because that's how you're seen. Mm-hmm. When we put that aside, you leave the culture aside, mm-hmm. and you look at the human being, and I can't say with my great-grandmother because I wasn't there, but what I can say is if her parents felt that she was important enough to go to school and pay for her, I'm sure she decided I am too. Mm-hmm. And with my grandmother going to Juilliard, knowing her mother graduated cum laude, for her, it was like, oh, this is a no-brainer for me. And running her business and doing what she did. And I used to in the mornings go downstairs and visit her, and because we had a family house at that time. And so I would play businesswoman at her desk. She'd give me a pad. She'd give me some M&M peanuts and this little beautiful brass clock. And she was working, and I was sitting there. I was doing what Nana was doing. Me and Nana was doing business, this, that. And she would take me to her meetings and take me to the bank and all. Oh, I was just a little businesswoman. And not knowing at that time she was mentoring me, and I was watching her. And to the degree, this is a really funny story, you're going to crack up. We used to go to the bank every Friday because she's a broker. So one day, my sister wanted candy, and my mom wouldn't give it any money. She writes a crayon check, goes to the corner of Bank Chase Manhattan, and puts the check up and says she wants to get some candy. And so everybody knows us because we live down the street, right? And in New York, that's how it is. You go to the corner, And so back then you had beat cops, and they all know you. Everybody knows everybody in the neighborhood. So the cop comes in because he's thinking my sister's lost, and she's on a mission. She wants candy, and she's going to go to the store next door and buy some candy because Nana gives them a check, and they give Nana money, and we go shopping. And that's what we do. So they gave her back the check. It was hilarious. They gave her back the check, and the police, the cop walked my sister home, and then the tellers gave her all this candy. She was thrilled because she didn't have to pay for it. Because she, in her mind, oh, Nana gives a check and she gets it, but I didn't have to do that. So she's laughing and walking down the street. And then can you imagine? My mother's like seeing the police and seeing my sister, and she is like on 25 until the cop starts cracking up and laughing. And then my sister said, I got my candy. And so that's my Chase Manhattan story. And so, yeah.
Clearly the determination flows down in the genes in your family.
Yeah.
the ask for what you want, find a way to get it, and guess what? The universe supplies. That's very cool. It's a great story. And I love that she made out the check. So, what I also hear from that story, though, is a legacy and examples made a lot of difference to you in your lived experience of what you thought was possible. And I think part of what's so important right now as we age and become entrepreneurs and so forth is being an example of what ageism is not, like, being the opposite and dispelling all those myths about we're not technical, we can't do this or that or whatever the stories are that are predominantly BS. A good example is a great way to combat any prejudice is to simply, as you said, in your case, it was cultural, so it was expected. So you learn to work with it and work around it and ignore it or not let it stop you, which creates a whole level of resilience and determination that other people in other cultures don't have and can't understand. But it also was about what you grew up with, the examples you grew up with, and seeing and sitting and playing businesswoman when you were little. I think that's brilliant.
And then we had another little incident with my dad. He used to get paid on Thursdays or whatever. And so he would take me and my sister down there to work. And, of course, he got us, because that was the day, Thursday and Friday was day off. Anyhow, we go down there and we play with the secretaries. And we thought we were important because, they had the royal typewriters back then. Yeah. They put the paper in there and and then Dad takes us out and we have fun with that. And so, and then my grandfathers were like that. We had such a community in our family that, we didn't know what we didn't know until we went out to work. Yeah. And then we had to learn. But you really didn't know as a kid because we're all, we lived in a very nice neighborhood with all different type of people. So it wasn't anything where anybody was anything. It was just, this is what we did.
Yep. Yeah. And so one of the things you mentioned a little bit ago was you got mentors. How did you enroll those mentors, or how did you find them? And how did you use the mentors to help you with your transition into what your business and so on?
Okay. I've had some really incredible mentors. Some of them are very famous people that I would have never thought that I would come across now. One of them was Florrie Roberts of Florrie Roberts Cosmetics. She was a Jewish woman who created one of the number one cosmetic company for people of color. People don't know that she and Carol Channing were on Broadway and they saw that the women didn't have makeup. So her husband's a doctor. She goes home and she tells him to create some. And from there, she built this multi-billion-dollar company in Dermablend. And so she was speaking at a conference that I wanted to go to, but it was a little pricey for me at that time. And so I volunteered to be one of the assistants or whatever it was. And so when I saw it was her, I volunteered and I ended up in her room. Well, I always carry my business plan. I always carry all my stuff. So I was helping her. And then at the end, she says, well, why did you come in my room? And I pulled out my plan that had my mission on it. And it was exactly the same thing as her Roberts Rules of Entrepreneurship. Wow. And that's how I received her as a mentor. And she mentored me in niche marketing for 5 years. Then I had one of the directors and VPs of a business school in Emory in Georgia as my mentor. He had come to our church, and I didn't get a chance to see him at that time. But for some reason, I was over at the school, and I brought my business one sheet. But back then we had the one sheet, we had the speaker one sheet. We had a one sheet for everything. So I brought my business one sheet, and I shared it with him. And on the back of his book were the same principles. So that's how I ended up with him as a mentor. So most of them.
I hope what you guys are hearing here is a theme that preparedness and taking action and asking meets opportunity, and that can equal getting someone enrolled in supporting your vision. But had you not had that intention and the clarity of having those support materials with you, you wouldn't have been able to seize that moment and ask them to help you. So definitely preparedness and taking action, super important. And I love the workaround story of I couldn't afford the conference, so I went and volunteered and got to meet. That's a great and very smart way of doing things, especially when your cash flow is tight, and there's always a way to make things work if we look for it. So clearly, you've got a lot of resilience or resourcefulness. That's the word I was looking for. So when you had those mentors, did you have any kind of concerns or issues about calling on them for advice or support? A lot of people aren't great at calling in support. They think they are, but they're really not. So
I didn't have that because with Florrie, we had a monthly meeting, and then if she got an idea, she'd just call me on the phone. Oh, what are you doing? You see what's getting ready to happen? Where are your emerging markets? Who are you going to sell to? You're going to have to figure this out before the end of the year because this is what's happening in the market. And I'd say, okay. And then she said, write this down. And I write it down and she hang up. And then she said, and then we have our call. When we had our call, I have to come back. Okay. So I have to come back. I have to have done something. Then with one of my coaches, I really adored him. He's passed away now. Every time I would meet with him 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And each time I met with him, he would give me 6 books. And I couldn't come back unless I had the books.
Okay.
I had read them. I came back with something and this and that. And we did get to work together and do some things, some programs and projects together. But he would give me 6 books every quarter. And I had to read them all. And there was no question, in his mind, this is what it was. He was an action coach. And, I didn't have a problem calling them or them calling me, because I didn't think that I wasn't supposed to talk to them because I needed help. I needed to know what to do.
Yeah.
And this is it. And when I was looking to get a job again, this is so funny. You're going to crack up my mentor that was at Emory. I set up a meeting with him. I said, listen, things aren't moving as quick as I'd like them to. I think I need, you got a job here, da, 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 da. He says, you know what? There's somebody down the hall. She's having a struggle. She's in HR. You need to go down there and talk to her. I'm like, I just told you I needed a job. Go talk to her. So I go down there and I talk to her. And then I'm sitting in there helping her set everything up and rearrange and all the problems she was having with the job. Blah, blah, blah. And I come back. He said, you still want a job? He said, I wouldn't get you a job because you wouldn't keep the job because you only want the job for money. Yeah. So let's sit down and figure out where we can find another opportunity for you. And so he talked to me about doing some certification programs in different areas. And he says, and I got friends at these schools. If you want to go, I'll call them up. You go down there and you can such and such and such. And so that's how it happened, with me talking to them. Now, I wasn't able to take advantage of all the opportunities, but some of the opportunities were really good, and I was. And I thought that, and even my daughter, because it was time for her to go to college, and he told me, no, high school. And he says, you know what? If you want her to go to this college, this is a high school. I'm on the board. So go over there, take her. If she likes it, then I'll give her such and such. I mean, that's kind of this, even down in the Capitol and with the mayor and the attorney general, with my nonprofit, I worked with him, with some of the shelters for families and stuff. I mean, it's just like, if you're doing what you do that you like to do, it just kind of like comes together. It's not easy at all. Mm-hmm. It wasn't easy. I am not going to say it was easy. It was not. Right. Balancing all those balls, dealing with, ailing parents, growing teenager, all that stuff wasn't easy. Not at all. Yeah. But when I look back now, it all makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. And is really, about doing the work anyways, even though it's not easy. It's actually quite simple. You take one step and then you take another step and you keep showing up prepared and taking action, because action will create clarity, not the other way around. And then you find these opportunities and then stepping into them, being willing to step into them. A lot of people get scared and go, I don't know if I can do this. And I'll shrink now because it's asking me to put my big girl panties on. But you say, yes, I will do that. Yes, I can do that. You've got a real yes approach to life. So I think
but you know how I had that yes approach to life? Because I didn't have a choice. I have this child at home. I got these parents I got to deal with. I have all this stuff I got to deal with. I don't want to get a job.
Yes.
Okay. So if I have to work 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job at that time, I was willing to do it. And then later on, I let that thought process go. And I embraced the second thought process. But in the beginning, it was tough.
So what was the second thought process that you embraced?
Oh, this is what I was born to be.
Right.
I was born to be who I am now. I am the best at this stage. I'm so thrilled with it. But as time went on, I knew I was born to do that because I'm a natural born leader. I can be in a team and I can participate. But that 9-to-5 thing, I got an allergy with that thing. I got an allergy when it comes to that. And you can't take sinus medication for that. It's just not good.
Yeah, I will sometimes say that I was permanently cured of my addiction for going into corporations back in 2001 and haven't been back since then. So what do you actually do? How do you help people? What is your business model?
Okay, so the business model is I have 2 programs. I have a leadership program, which I'm upgrading and should be coming out really quick. And then I have the program for women. And that's the Encore program with the framework. How people come in, they set up a call or they contact our office, and we determine, is this a good fit for any of the programs we have, or is it a good fit to work with me or one of my colleagues? After all that's done, I have proprietary tools and assessments. We determine which direction they're going in, whether if it's a group program, I put them in, or if it's a one-on-one program, which is a different level of engagement and also a different price point. And so that's what that's what we do at this point.
But so what's the problem that you solve that you help people with? So if someone's at what stage and they're asking what's next, is that the problem that you help them solve, is answering that question?
The question we answer is the clarity, because they're not clear on what to do. The question is, when they figure it out, how to do it, when to do it, what to do it, and what would be the best path to do it. So it's a holistic approach. Because when you take the assessments, you're going to walk through, and it's not any of the other ones, these proprietary. I created my own. When you take these, then you see where you are. Okay, now we're going to put a shape around that and come up with it. If it's a business, fine. If it's a job, fine. If it's a passion project, and you want a passion project, you only want to work 2-3 times a year, doing your passion project, and you want to travel or whatever it is, the path you want, we are going to help you shape that, monetize it, and leverage who you are,
right,
and move forward. Yeah. And then some people just want legacy. They want to create a legacy. So if they want to do a legacy business, now that's a bigger project because you got to get the family on board. And if they don't want to do it, you can forget it. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, legacy in that form, if you want to hand it down to your, heirs or something, but a legacy project could also be that they want to become a speaker and pass on their wisdom, or they want to write a book, or they want to create or something along those lines. There's a lot of different, or create a nonprofit or something.
But that all goes into the business side of it, because there's a particular entity, versus, the family or the passion project, which those things are, I would say, very unique in how you have to engage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that is a longer conversation. In a moment, I'm going to ask, so where can people find you? Where's the best place to connect with you?
Okay, they can connect with me on paulawashington.com, and they can actually go in, and at the top, you'll see Discovery Call and set up a strategy session with me, and it is free. They can go to my LinkedIn, Paula Washington /MBAMS. They can go there, And they can also look at my YouTube, which is Paula Washington, the Encore Playbook. They can also reach me where else? I think, Instagram. I am Paula Washington.
Okay.
And that's how they can reach me.
So all over the place. Search Paula Washington. You will find this woman. She is all over.
Well, wait a minute. Now, see, this is a wonderful thing, and maybe it's not so much. Pauletta Washington, Denzel's wife, comes up. Me and her have had this challenge since I've had this last name. And so she'll come up first, and then I'll come up. I don't have a problem with it, but that's how it is sometimes. So if you see her, just scroll down, you'll see me then.
Until you can find
and
you.
I put in my middle initial, I changed it all kinds of ways, and it
Awesome.
just is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. So you've got a gift for people who are listening. What's that gift? Tell them about it.
The one question framework. The gift was created from my sessions with my coach.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Paula, why are you wasting your time on $10,000 problems when you should be focused on $100,000 opportunities?
Mm.
And so the checklist is to determine where those blind spots and where you're wasting your time, because I learned time mastery through him, and we wrote a book together, did a show, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, where you're wasting your time and how you can eliminate that so that you can be focused on the $100,000 opportunities, which is what you're supposed to be doing, or solving a problem, or growing the business to that place if you're not there yet. Whatever it is, that's where your focus should be, because you're really, as a business owner, you are a founder, you are a CEO, and you have all those titles. But where you're best suited to work is to generate business. Mm-hmm. And if you're focused on all of the other stuff, you're not generating business.
Yep.
And if you're not generating business, there's no company.
That's right. It's called a very expensive hobby. And
exactly.
And that's not something most of us want to afford. Okay, so you can find Paul all over, and you can get that gift, the one question framework, which is a great way of looking at things. I think it's a brilliant reframe of how and where we're putting our focus. So I just wanted to share with you all that will be in the vault first of all, so you can go to the vault to get it, and the link will also be in the show notes. But if you go into the vault, you can download not only Paula's gift, but also all the gifts from all of our other speakers that are there for you. So think of it like your own 24-hour a day, 365-day a year giveaway, where you can go in and get all sorts of goodies. So go into the vault, grab that template that she's provided for you, but most importantly, use it, because it doesn't actually help if you just download it. You got to actually apply it, and reach out to Paula to connect with her about her programs and whether or not they might be the right fit for you. And like I said at the top of the hour, we can both do very similar things. Some of you are going to resonate with how Paula approaches it and what she does, and some of you will resonate with what I do. I have a workshop called the Clarity Compass Workshop, designed to support people who are 55 plus to clarify your vision. What one thing that most people really struggle with, and you know this, Paula, is when you say, what do you want? They get kind of this dog tilt head thing going on, and they glaze over a little bit. They can tell you what they don't quite often, but very challenging to figure out, what is my vision for the future? Because like you said, we are told to retire, and then what? None of that is crafted out. None of that is given to us in terms of what's possible beyond that. So clarify your vision, clarify your purpose. What is your purpose now? And by the way, it's not what you do, but many people associate it with that. So they think, okay, if I'm not the CEO anymore, who am I? Or if I'm not the stay-at-home mom or the caregiver or the teacher or whatever. And so we really help you identify your purpose that is not what you do. It's why you do it. And then how are you going to monetize that? What's that going to look like? Is it going to be a legacy project, etc.? So you can look at the Clarity Compass Workshop. You can find it on maturepreneur.world. And go to the Clarity Compass Workshop to find out if that's a good fit for you. But I also really encourage you, whenever you're looking for support, to check with a few people. Find the person you resonate with. Book a call with Paula and talk to her about her program and see what it offers and if it's a good fit for where you're at. Book a call with me, talk to me. It's really valuable to call in support at this stage of life whenever we are not sure what's next, and even if we think we are sure, it's really good to get someone who has perspective, because our stuff's right on the end of our nose. That's why I have two coaches. I can't see it, right? Can't see the label from inside the jar. So do that due diligence, find the person you resonate with, and get into action. So, because, as you can tell from our conversation with Paula, being ready with some clarity about what you wanted and prepared makes opportunities show up a whole lot more quickly and easily than if you are floundering around not having any clarity at all. So get clarity. And so tell us what's next for you, and give us one last piece of advice you'd like to leave everyone with, Paula, especially those who are in that stage of what's next. What would you advise them?
Okay, well, what's next? All right, 3 things. We have to get clear on what do you really want? What does your heart really want? Why do you want it? When do you want it? And what are you willing to do to exchange for it? Great. Secondly, confidence. Even you don't have confidence for something you've never done, but you do have confidence to bet on yourself and win for all that you've already done. Confidence, you got it. Next, continuity. Be consistent. Can we do that? Be consistent. Continuity is so important. In your planning the exit, every day, 2 hours, and focus on that vision and work that thing till you get it done. And that is my golden wisdom for today.
Okay. That's the great framing in all 3 of those. So thank you so much for that. And really, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you might think what was she just advised is, yeah, I know that. Go listen to it again, because I'm pretty sure you're not doing it if you're not clear. You're not doing what she just said. You think you are, but you're not. So listen to it again. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Paula, and for sharing your wisdom. I love your passion for supporting people in moving into their Encore chapter, and really supporting people in getting that they still matter and they still have value, and you're there to help them figure out what that is and how to turn that into what's next for them. So thank you for doing that work in the world. We need lots of us doing it.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me. And I do admire you for doing that work as well, and giving us an opportunity and a platform to be able to share who we are and just to support and empower your mission as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's a love fest, y'all. All right. So please share this episode with anybody who may be in transition or thinking of transition, looking at that from here. This will help them with some practical ideas about how to think about things so that they can make that next leap with support. Thanks for listening, and please do subscribe. We'll see you soon on the Maturepreneur podcast. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.